Hello everybody and welcome. We are back. NBL Overtime as we head towards NBL 24, and remarkably as we head to season 6, we're going for a full hour, wherever you might be. You know what to do. Hashtag NBL Overtime. So much to get into. New special guests, big news, of course, plenty going on. The Blitz was huge, and we're going to cover it not just today, but as we head forward into season 24. But it is a little bit different to kickstart our year because, as many would know watching the show and seeing the NBL socials over the last couple of weeks, our mate, our best man, the man who actually he wasn't overly sold on overtime at the start because, what do you mean, every week? But he's absolutely the reason we're still here today. Corey Homicide Williams is in a battle. He's in a health battle that he has been battling for the last month or so. So while he won't start the season with us, he absolutely remains in our thoughts. We think of you every single day, Corey. We love you, and we can't wait for you to be back on the NBL Overtime. Not just the desk, but back doing what you do, sidelines at NBL, and building and continually marketing the lead like no one else can do it. So, Corey, I know you're watching. We love you. We miss you. Get well. We're going to hold down the set, and we can't wait for your back and squirming as I throw yes or no at you. Before we get to the third person who is, of course, a legend in the NBL, Liam Sandemer in the house. Hello to you, Liam.
I'm well. Thanks, Cam. Hello to you, mate. Great to be back for another season of NBL Overtime. And you said it very well. Corey, I want to give you a massive shout out here, mate, before we go any further. Here's your jersey, mate. You made Croc Nation and you blew the NBL up when you came into this league and you made this show. We, like Cam said, we miss you, man. I may not be training to look good naked, but I am thinking of you on a daily basis, mate. And we're just going to keep the set warm here until you get back. So just like I've been telling you, man, we're thinking of you and the entire NBL community. I mean, everybody who is watching this show, all the players, coaches, fans, everyone is sending their strength and love to you, mate, as you get yourself right. So best of health and wishes, mate, and we're thinking of you every day.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Lanard Copeland, he's a legend in the NBL. He's a great mate of ours, and he is here to help us through this. Hello to you, Copes, and welcome to NBL Overtime.
Man, thanks for having me. Look, I'm here with two of the best basketball minds in the world, so I'm happy to be here.
Where's the other guy? I was talking about myself, not you, Liam. Hey, just quickly, just for people at home, and of course, Corey going through this, and I know we've all reached out at different times. He is keeping that same energy, fam. He's staying as positive as he can in this situation. And, of course, it's been a bit of a running joke. Him and I, he believes that he can give me a 20-point head start and beat me one-on-one to 21. And I thought I had him last week. Traditionally, I would have been like, last week I thought he was a bit flat. I said, mate, I reckon I'd score in you. And he said, not a chance in hell. So he's keeping that same energy, fam. And Corey, we are thinking about you. And we had to start the show with the Sydney Kings because Corey, he refused to believe until the last 30 seconds of last year's NBL Grand Final, Game 5, that they were the best team in the league. So let's start with them right now. And the question straight off the top, are they the deepest team in the league? And before we get into it, here's their depth chart as we get into what is a differently looked roster, although they have got a former MVP back. No Xavier Cooks. Here's their depth chart. I'll start with you, Liam. Are they the deepest team in the league?
They're one of. No. I'm not sure that
There's the old fence coming straight in.
I'm not sure that they are exactly the deepest team in the league. I think there's some others like the Illawarra Hawks who could probably also lay claim to that conversation. The reason why is because, they're like the second unit. All those guys you can see there, Glover and Bruce and Quat Noy, Alex Tui, Jordan Hunter, like the second unit with all that championship experience is absolutely outstanding. They could go ahead and take on the starting units of other groups. It's the starting group that I'm interested to see how they go this season. Now, on paper, it looks amazing. Denzel Valentine with all that NBA experience, National College Player of the Year at Michigan State. Jonah Bolden played in the association as well, and Jalen Adams, the former MVP of the league. But it's a brand new starting unit. Brand new. Nobody who was in that starting group from that championship team last year is here. Walton Jr., Vasiljevic, Cooks, all those guys are gone. Justin Simon, who was an elite defender. So whether all those guys are as good in actuality as they are on paper will determine how good and how deep this group is.
We have seen one of their starters before with Jalen Adams. So whilst it is a new group from last year, we have seen him and we know that he's going to slide we're assuming straight back into the league in the similar type of position. Have they, looking at their roster, have they done a really good job? It's very hard to replace an MVP, but have they done a job that you think is satisfactory, Coach?
Well, let me tell you something. I got in trouble last year talking about this team. Bogut called me and said, "You're wrong. We're going to win a championship," and they did.
Yeah.
So I don't want to badmouth Sydney.
Because of Bogut?
No, because I've been burned a couple of times, and I know the management group put together a really good team. But here's the thing, like you said, when you lose 5 starters and the head coach, you got troubles, man. I'm not troubles. You got to start over. Now the bench, yes, they come in and they play well and they're very good, but no team in the world is going to lose 5 starters and think they can come in. And this league is too tough. It's too tough. So I'm saying Sydney, yes, you're going to play well, but I don't see Sydney winning the championship.
So the thing with Sydney will be, for the reasons you have pointed out, I think there'll be a sluggish start, right? I think there are teams more ready to go off the starting tip for a lot of the reasons you two absolutely described there. I think once they get humming into the second half of the year, it's about consistency. Now, I don't think they're going to be as far back as Melbourne United were to kickstart last season, but when you get a fair way back, or you don't necessarily have your fluency off the start of the season, everything has to go right to have a crack at this thing. I think they'll have a very slow start. I'm not saying they can't win it and can't absolutely contend, but I think they'll have a slower start than what has normally happened.
Now, DJ Hogue, who we know can play, does he fit the Sydney Kings? I mean, it looks like they want to run.
Right.
Now, Kansas did a little running last year, but I don't know if DJ is the type of guy who's going to get it and go every time. He wants to slow. He wants to come off screens and shoot threes. Will he fit the Sydney Kings like they want him to?
Well, the Taipans play pretty quick, and he fit what Adam Ford did with him last year, and they would have looked at the style of play that he has and thought, yeah, we know we're going to play up-tempo. We feel like he can do that. My question is, what are he and Jalen Adams like second time around? The imports like Copes and like Bryce Cotton, who were awesome in year 1 and year 2 and year 3 and so on in this league, are much more the exception than the rule. A lot of times, once they come into the NBL and they kick butt and they go, some of these really high-level guys go, yeah, you know what, I've got this league. And the foot comes off the pedal a little bit. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Right. I'm just intrigued to see whether it does or doesn't happen. And then there's two other big question marks for me. And they are, of course, Jonah Bolden and Denzel Valentine. Real high pedigree and the high ceiling guys, but do they actually reach that ceiling over the course of the season?
With Hogue and with Adams, I think there's enough of a change, right? Jalen Adams missed a year. They won a championship. Didn't miss a year. He was not here for a year. So there's a little bit of that maybe chip on the shoulder, sort of motivation, incentivised way to go about it. And DJ Hogue, different environment, okay? So you are right. Traditionally, imports can have a little issue like second-year syndrome, but I think the fact he's in a new place actually might dispel just any chance of that actually happening. And I think I understand your team makeup, but I'm a firm believer in if you are good enough, they will sort it out and they will suss it out, and they are 2 very, very high-quality basketballers. So you put them in the pot, you let them cook.
Well, look, our new head coach, we don't know what he brings. We know he can coach. We don't know what he brings.
Yeah.
When you spoke about that second-year syndrome, it hit me. I averaged 29 points a game my first year.
Right.
I dropped down to 20 because now teams know what you can do. They know where you want the ball. They know what happens and what doesn't happen.
Right.
So
hang on. And before you go any further, just for people who may not be 30 years of age, so what happened in your second year in the league?
Second year went from 20.
No, not you. The team. What happened?
We won a championship.
Hey.
There we go. So, come on, mate. The sum of all parts.
Of course.
Did you see how he slipped in?
Yeah, 29. Couldn't get it done. You should have just said I played a more team game.
Hey, listen, no, we added other players. That's what it was. At the end of the day, though, he's playing on a different group, different environment.
Yeah.
Is he going to be the same, DJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think a guy like Willie Farley kicks butt in Adelaide and then he goes to West Sydney. He's good, but not quite the same guy.
Yeah.
You know, Demetrius Conga in Illawarra compared to in Adelaide. Like, let's see what happens here with DJ Hogue.
Let's get to Melbourne United, who had a really good pre-season. And the question off the top, I don't know who came up with this question. By the time we get to my big call at the end of it, it certainly wasn't me. Are they too old, Copes? Are United too old?
No, I don't think they are. I think they're the most experienced team in the league. I went to watch them train about a week and a half ago. And what impressed me the most was the fact that those older players were helping the younger players. Now, that happens all the time. But you got Delhi, who knows his game back and forth. He's a defensive stopper, but his offensive game is gone through the roof. All right? You got Ian Clark, who's won championships in the NBA and the NBL, and he's helping players as well. Then you got Dean Vickerman, who's been – I room with Dean Vickerman. Dean Vickerman was on his computer all night. Now, maybe he didn't want to talk to me. Maybe he was just on the computer.
How would you know if he was on the computer, mate? You were out. Don't give me that.
So there weren't computers. There weren't computers.
Okay. Look, so again, there's talent on that team. Yes, they're a bit older, but they're more experienced than any team in the league.
You think they're the smartest team in the league, right?
I think they're the smartest team in the league. Brad Newland, these guys have been through it. They know what it takes. The IQ is off the chart. So, look, Melbourne United, you guys got some work to do.
Yeah, I mean, they are old, I think. They are old. I mean, Daly, 33, CG, 35, Brad Newley, 38. You know, these are key guys within this team. Here you see the lineup. But they've also got, you know, and certainly, like, they've also got some really exciting young guys coming into the mix as well. Like Shea Elley's not young, but he's in the prime of his career at 31. And Flynn Cameron's exciting, and Kyle Bowen's exciting. Tanner Krebs is not young, but still has plenty of upside to tap into the NBL. And Ariel Laporte at just 21 is going to be an absolute beast.
Travers?
In this league. And Luke Travers, yeah, for instance, he's 22 as well. So a good mix of youth and experience. And the other thing about the older guys, I mean, is they're fit. I mean, Brad Newley, for a 38-year-old, I mean, that's life goals.
He's still hungry.
What he looks like. And Daly, I mean, there's barely anyone in the league fitter and stronger than him right now coming into the start of the season. So they are old, yeah, but they're not too old, I wouldn't say.
Here is Daly, who looked great in the pre-season. He looked more aggressive. A lot's been made of it. Offensively aggressive. I think he had slight little hamstring tweak, so he missed a couple of weeks leading into the blitz. Coming off the bench was outstanding. Look, everyone's talking about the Boomer situation and the fact he didn't make that team, and of course Paris is tantalising for any player around the world. I also think back to when he was here last, and they fell that little bit short for making the grand final appearance. Now, of course, the top seed, they had Chris Golding, who missed game 3, and in the end, the JJs were too good on the Melbourne United court. That has to play in it to a little bit as well. He would love an NBL championship. Right now, it is driven by different factors, and probably the Boom is at the forefront of that. But I think the NBL championship and probably some unfinished business before he went back to Sacramento or back to the NBA plays a big part in that.
I haven't spoken to Daly about it. I think it's a Boomers thing.
Yeah.
He worked really, really hard in advance of that camp. And then to get in unbelievable shape, to make sure his body was right, to make sure he was in form. And then there's obviously the story about the camp and whether he was going to be there and making sure he was there. Didn't make the team. And it seems to me he's come back and said, I'm making that Paris team. The worst thing you can ever do to Matthew Dellavedova is tell him 100%. He can't do it. Tell him he's done. Tell him he won't make it. Didn't make this team. People say, well, that's it. He's finished with the green and gold. And he's like, no, I'm on a mission. And every time I step out there this season, I'm going to prove to you why I should be on that team.
He's got that look in his eye to say, okay, I'll show you. I'll show you guys what I can do offensively and defensively. Now, we know what he does, what he brings to the table defensively.
Yeah.
Offensively, the way he shot the ball in the blitz, if he can continue to play like that, he's on that Olympic team.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Because the scout is to slip under.
Yeah.
So he went 4 from 8 from 3, and then he went 4 from 8 from 3 again. He had 20 points at halftime. Yeah. They had to change the scout, and now Daly just does what he wants, right? Gets to the float game, lobs it over the top to Ariel Laporte. If he hits the 3 in the regular season like he hit it in the preseason, he's going to be all NBL.
You want a big call? Well, first big call. So we're all making big calls, and we're going to revisit them every month. You want my first big call?
Let me put my glasses on.
Put them on.
Come on.
Once
write this down?
Yeah, you write them down and underline it 3 times. JLA, of course, out injured. Once he returns to the Melbourne United lineup, so once he returns, they won't lose back-to-back games for the rest of the season. Once he is back and they've got the full complement, they will not lose back-to-back games. Wow.
So you just absolutely, positively love them, lock them in for the... Because JLA's coming back, so that means you're just saying lock them in, they're winning the title.
Well, firstly, I am predicting them to win the championship, but secondly, they can actually not lose back-to-back games but still not win the championship.
Oh, you've done
theoretically.
Okay.
Well, it is because they could win games 2 and 4 in a grand final series, but right now for me they are.
So you're saying if they go to Perth, they play Perth on a Friday, and then come back and play Southeast Melbourne on a Sunday.
And if they lose on a Friday, they'll win Sunday.
Wow.
They will. Once he is back, they won't lose back-to-back games. I really like them. And something else as well. I know that they have to move some things around, but, you know, they could always add someone else as the season gets into it. All right, Adelaide. CJ Bruton, we've got to start there because he is straight up in the hot seat. We're going to talk a little bit about the import in a moment, but Copes, CJ Bruton was an extraordinary basketballer for this country and in the NBL, championship after championship. We all expected him to be an exceptional coach once he made that transition to a head coach. It hasn't quite worked just yet. How much of a hot seat is it for CJ Bruton in Adelaide?
Look, let's not sugarcoat it. He has to win. He has to win some games early, and he has to win some games. He has to be focused. I think what hurt them the most is losing Cleveland last year, because Cleveland was definitely going to help him this year. I think they need a point guard because he needs someone to run that show. Now, Mitch McCarron can play the point, and I love Mitch McCarron. I love what he brings, but I think he needs someone to run the show and get the team on track.
But that's all well and good, Coach. I couldn't agree any more with you. Then how did they not address this in the off-season? Legitimately. How do we get to this where they're an import down, we're getting into the first weekend, nothing you said is absolutely inaccurate, and yet we don't have any solution to it? Is this on CJ Bruton, or is it on the people putting the team together? You would know better than I. Is CJ Bruton heavily involved in the recruiting and the makeup of this team?
Yeah, well, so of course Jeff Van Groningen was in that position previously, and you had the coach and you had the GM of basketball, and then you had the CEO and the ownership group, and now Jeff's not there. So that job of putting the team together does sit with CJ. Did he want that job? Did he think he was walking into that kind of role? I'm not sure. But yes, I mean, that was, he's been heavily involved in that process over the course of the off-season. And with regards to the question about whether or not he's in the hot seat, of course he is. And it's got nothing to do with who he is or what's. It's the fact that he's in year 3, and it's a contract year. He's coming to the end of his contract, and they haven't had a whole heap of success in those first couple of years. And then you add on what has been a dysfunctional pre-season and lead into the year. So it's a tough spot. Now, one thing we do know is that those Adelaide fans support their team.
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
And they get around that team, whether they're winning or losing or whatever, because they love their 36ers, because it's title town and the like. So they've got a great atmosphere there in Adelaide. They're going to need to feed off of that and find some juice to begin this season, because the roster is still in flux, as we know. They're going to need to find some wins here early doors.
Were you surprised they tried to have one of your next star guys be the point guard?
I mean,
you've seen him more than most people in Australia leading into it. Were you surprised when that came out?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was heavily involved in a lot of those conversations all the way along. I think he's more comfortable on the wing and as a secondary ball carrier. He's a playmaker, man. Like, when he rips it off the defensive glass and pushes in transition, I mean, it's a beautiful thing. Everybody runs with him. He's athletic and quick and can do some things.
Makes the right decision, too. He will make
but, against a set defense, to walk it up in a tough league like this, that was difficult.
Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. We're going to get to a break. We got new panellists this year. We've got new panellists, including the #1 newsbreaker in the game, Olgun, Uluc, to join us from ESPN on the other side of this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. Santa's watching, yes or no, all the good stuff. And a very special new panellist only around 10 minutes away right here on NBL Overtime. 2 sleeps away from the throwdown to kickstart NBL 24. But we've got a very special panellist who's going to join us every week. The #1 newsbreaker in the game, Olgun Uluc in the house from ESPN. Hello, buddy.
Hey, how you guys doing? It's weird to be in this room.
Yeah.
I've watched this. I feel like I've jumped through the TV.
Wow.
You just sit at home watching us normally, well, you're a part of it now, and this is all the better for NBL Overtime. Let's start with this. Perth Wildcats, because it had been bubbling around for a couple of weeks. Do they go into the season without that next import? But they have filled it in the last 12 hours.
That's right. Christian Doolittle comes in, fills that starting 4 spot for that team. It was interesting because they were okay waiting. With the way Alex Sarr played in those G League games and sort of the flashes he showed, they were okay waiting and maybe elevating Michael Harris and seeing what happened. But he got released from his team in France, from Limoges. There was an issue there. The Wildcats looked into it, but he's this sort of 3-4, can shoot it, sort of a connector, the kind of piece that they wanted. They like the talent on that team. This kid's out of Oklahoma, 6'7" forward. They like the idea of sort of putting him in there, starting him at the 4 spot, and just letting the other guys cook around him.
Oh.
It was always the conversation right from the get-go that they were going to get an import for, and that's who they were in the market for. But off the back of Alexander's impressive play in Las Vegas, Do you get a sense that there was any conversation with John Rillie and Danny Mills to say, should we reconsider? Should we bring in an import point guard? Should we just keep the import spot up our sleeve for later in the season?
Well, that was the initial talks. Was as soon as Alex Sarr started to play really well, and it's okay, this guy's going to be an impact guy for us. Okay, should we just hold it out? Michael Harris is there. He's going to play impact minutes for this team. Do we just elevate him? We can wait until the middle of the season, see what happens. All of a sudden, Doolittle became available, so they didn't want to say no to him. But I think the play of Alex Sarr really did shift things, and in the sense that I thought this team was looking for more of a straight 4 or a 4-5. They shifted that knowing that they can trust Alex Sarr to an extent to play backup 5 minutes, to play him alongside Keanu Pinder. They sort of shifted based on not just how much they think Alex Sarr will help them now, but they know that the ceiling of that team, the ceiling of Perth, sort of rides with the ceiling of Alex Sarr. In order for Alex Sarr to reach his ceiling, you need to play him.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Does a team have too much talent? Sometimes you can have too much talent. And what I mean by that is to have Cotton, the Webster boys, Usher, then you bring in another import, and then you got Keanu. And Sarr. There's only one ball. There's only one ball.
I wouldn't have. And the way that Sarr played, and you've seen him again, being the next Stars GM, you've seen him a lot more than I have. The way that Sarr played and the way this team was functioning, I would have rolled with it for the first month. And now, I'm not saying Doolittle isn't a very good basketballer and he might slide in and be one of the best players in the comp. We're about to find out. But you've got to play Sarr. Because he's earned the minutes, he's earned 100%. The position to have opportunities. Absolutely. So I'm very interested to see because, Bryce Cotton is Bryce Cotton, right? And then the Webster brothers are there. Usher's had a really good preseason. And Pinder needs the pill. You don't bring in Pinder at, I'm assuming, in a nice bag, since he once told us in the middle of a game he was looking for the cash, tongue-in-cheek a little bit at the time. But the fact is that all of a sudden you're taking a little bit away and someone's not going to play the minutes and it's probably going to be Alex Sarr, right?
What does do when these guys get upset? Because is he strong enough as a coach to say, hey, sit down, we're focusing on a championship? Because guys have egos. Yeah. You're not going to bring a guy in here that's averaging 25 points a game and then all of a sudden he doesn't see the ball and his average goes down. So next year his contract and his money goes down. You understand?
Yeah, I think the question with regards to Alexander Sarr, I don't think it's an issue. Okay. John Rillie and Danny, he's going to play.
Yep.
They have brought Alexander Sarr in. They know the kind of level of prospect that he is. He's in the conversation to be the #1 goddamn pick.
Absolutely.
In the NBA draft. He's going to play.
Yeah.
Now, he's going to play backup minutes at the 5 and the 4, like you were saying, Olgun. But it does impact some. I mean, I feel like it impacts Hiram Harris, and that's okay. He's a depth guy. It impacts David Aquera.
Yeah.
I think he slides down the depth chart a little bit. I say go for it. This is a tough, talented league, man, and teams. You have to be really legit. Yes. You look at how stacked the Melbourne United were the year before, 3 years ago, or the Sydney Kings these last 2 years. You need to have elite talent, and for it to all come together to win this title. My question, though, is the behavioural stuff, right? He was on a team, he's been released, now he's available. Do we have any kind of further idea of what exactly went down in France?
All we know is that there was an altercation with the head coach over in France. That's really all we know at this point. From my understanding, based on people I've spoken to already, the Wildcats did their due diligence. They asked the questions. They sort of decided that they came to the conclusion that this is not an issue, right? So they seem okay with it from that perspective. From the point of, is there too much talent? The one thing that I'm going to point to is this team was the worst defensive team in the league last season.
Sure.
Right? And they're rolling with the same backcourt, right? They're rolling with Ty Webster, with Bryce Cotton, with Corey Webster. If you can get someone like a Christian Doolittle who can maybe guard 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. I think you lean into that. They needed to improve on that end, and having Jordan Usher as a point of attack defender is great. Having another one in Christian Doolittle just bolsters them even more.
You're going to need a guard Mitch Creek. You're going to need a guard Gary Clark. Like, there's some elite guys at that position.
Wildcats got a new import. Adelaide will go one down into week 1.
Yeah, there is no plan to bring in an import for the first round of the season, not for lack of trying. They want to have an import. They are in the process of sort of scouring through all the names, and from what I understand, still internally figuring out what they want. The sense I get is CJ Bruton wants a point guard, right? And not just someone who can come in and be pretty good. He wants someone who can move the needle for them, right? He wants someone who can come in and be one of the best players in the league.
Give us some names.
I don't have names. Not yet.
You don't have any names?
Not
one?
Not for tonight.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
But he wants someone to come in and take ownership of that team, be their floor general, be one of the best players in the league. He's sort of going through some names, talking to some people. That's not going to happen in round 1. Could happen in round 2 potentially, but there's still internal talks about what they need.
I'll ask you that on any names you may or may not have. Sure. Are they players that have? Is there a name on the list that has played in the league before?
The name that everyone began to talk about was Derek Walton Jr.
Yep.
Now he was sort of at the top of their list initially, but then it was quickly realised that he's unattainable. Okay. So you can get that out of your mind.
So this conversation's about what exactly they might want. You say CJ Bruton wants a point guard, right? He's got Mitch McCarron, Jason Kidd, but he wants like a high-level all NBL first team, like a Walton Jr. Are there others, the others in the coaching staff of Craig Simpson and Scott Ninnis, who are looking at maybe a power forward, slide Jacob Wiley to the 5, he can share that with Isaac Humphrey? These are the type of conversations that are going down?
It's the question that's happening inside that organisation, which is, do we want that point guard or do we just want the best talent to bolster the rest of the roster? The feeling is that CJ Bruton is just not the biggest fan of Mitch McCarron at the 1. It's the reason why he got Craig Randall last season. He just wants someone more dynamic at that position. Craig Randall was that from a playing perspective. Off the court, he just wasn't tenable. But that's the sort of thing that CJ Bruton wants. It's what he went to Summer League looking for, and it was almost sad watching him sort of sit on the sideline, not knowing if he's able to bring one in because they were dealing with the Rob Frank situation. Then Antonius Cleveland happened, and sort of he left, and so they were really behind when it came to the recruitment of these guys, and I think that affected the sort of the quality of the import in Jamal Franklin coming in and obviously being cut really, really quickly. But they want the most talented player. CJ seems to want a point guard. Some others within the organisation are okay with something else, just bolstering the talent elsewhere.
DJ Hogue, a little bit on the sidelines?
A little bit. My expectation is he'll miss the first 3-4 weeks of the season.
That's worse than originally thought?
It is, and it's tough for the Kings because we saw them at the Blitz. They went 0-3. They didn't look like they had any groove, and which is natural. New head coach, new starting lineup. Not having DJ Hogue there obviously doesn't help with the teething issues they were already going to go through. The injury got to a point where the Kings did start to sort of look around for injury replacements. On a temporary basis. As of today, they have sort of scrapped that plan. They're cool with rolling with what they've got. But there are some names sort of just hovering around in Australia. There's a name, Michael Fraser II. He's in Australia currently, and some NBL teams are sort of keeping tabs on him. On if something happens to us.
Is he holidaying? What's he doing in Australia? Legitimately.
When I went to Wollongong to a Hawks practice, and he was sort of just working out amongst them.
Okay.
Right? He's just here, just chilling. And so
lifestyle.
I mean, who wouldn't? Everyone loves the gong. And so he's around, and so he's someone who multiple teams are sort of keeping tabs on, and if something happens, he's there. He'd be a high-level scorer at this level. Positionally, he doesn't really match what the Kings need. But he's the sort of guy who's there if a team needs him for.
So who starts in that position? Noy?
Yeah, Noy, Jalen Galloway, Alex Tui, those three are going to need to be really good to start the season. Now,
we are running out of time, which is going to happen probably each and every week when we're loaded with news. So I'm going to go straight to your big call. It's around the New Zealand Breakers. What do you got?
I think the New Zealand Breakers, at least to start the season, are the front runners. I think they are the most talented team. If I go down that roster from William McDowell-White to Zylan Cheatham to Jackson Parker Cartwright to Finn Delaney, right? If it takes me that long to get to Finn Delaney, you're in a really good place when it comes to your roster construction, right? And that's not even mentioning Isaiah Liafa, who's a really quality point guard, Cameron Glidden, who had a really, really good blitz. They are a really talented team.
They're deep.
And if you agree with him that they're the front runners?
No, I agree with him that they're going to be very tough in the beginning.
Mate, come on. Well, sorry, when you yell out, I agree with him, I understand why Liam's a little confused. What do you make of New Zealand?
Look, I like them. New pieces. Let's see how it all comes together, right? So much of it came down to Will McDowell-White, yes, but then the unbelievable import trio. And two of them, Pardon and Brantley, were two of the best defensive players in the leagues. So what type of defenders, Damatiang and Parker Jackson Cartwright, Justinian Jessup, what level of defense can this Breakers team get to?
Good question.
I like the idea of Zylan Cheatham stepping into at least one of those roles. He's guarding 1 through 5. He was guarding Bryce Cotton at the blitz, which was awesome to see. Whether Justinian Jessup can step up to that sort of level. Jackson Cartwright is going to play up and in, but he's really little. We'll see what happens. But if they can play like a Modi Mayor team with the talent they have, I think they're a team that can go all the way.
Welcome to the NBL Overtime crew.
Thank you, sir.
Love it. Olgun, in the house. What's your Twitter handle? People to hit you up?
At Olgun Uluc.
There
Or
you
on
go.
Instagram, at Olgun ESPN.
That'd actually make sense considering that is your name. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. That's one new panellist introduced. We've got another one. Alan Williams, big sauce in the house. It actually means Liam Santa Maria. He doesn't have the best hair on the show anymore. The Southeast Melbourne Phoenix superstar to join us next.
You're bringing out the big guy.
The big boy, big sauce. Look at the energy. It's contagious, not just to the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix fans, but also NBL Overtime now, because Liam and I and Corey earlier in the off-season, we said we need someone to come in with big energy and big hair. And we got Alan Williams in the house. Hello, buddy.
I'm here, man. I'm excited to be here with you guys. Now, I've definitely watched the show a lot, and it's just a true honor to be here as a player rep for the Overtime show.
Oh, good.
How you feeling, man? How's the body? How's the injury? How you tracking?
I'm getting there. Surgery went well. I'm ahead of schedule, I'd say, for sure, playing and feeling a lot better day by day, and just really excited to get back out there on the court with my guys. So.
You know what I'm excited about with this team? And I'm not just saying this because you're bigger than me and you're sitting next to me, but I am really. To bring back the two imports from last year, you gain that chemistry. I was at a football game with Tommy Greer, and he said to me, we're thinking about bringing back, the point guard. I said, that's a great idea because he knows how to get Mitch Creek the ball. He knows how to get you the ball. And then you add Cummings with that, with Mitch Creek and these guys. And then you got the kid coming off the bench. What's his name? The Ayers. I just love his confidence.
There's only one of them.
There's only one of them. I love his confidence. Air. I love his confidence.
Yeah.
And so when you put that all together, you got to give him a chance, man. You know?
Yeah, let's have a look at the roster source. What do you think about this group? Obviously, coming off a season, your first season in the NBL didn't quite make the finals. A change of coach, Mike Kelly comes in, and this is the group you got to work with this season.
I like it. I think we have a lot of depth. I think we returned a good part of the group in terms of myself, Gary Brown, Mitch Creek, Ruben Tarangi coming back. But we brought in some new pieces. A guy like Ben Ayer who can come off the bench and score really well. A guy like Matt Kenyon who's known for that Tazzy tenacity that you see on the defensive end. And then a guy like Craig Moeller who has had success in the NBL, coming off of injury now, looks phenomenally healthy. And I'm just really excited to put all those pieces together. And then not to mention, cannot forget, Tyler Cook coming in now while I'm recovering and getting back and just being a dominant force in this league.
We talk a little bit about consistency and teams staying together, right? So in your situation, you roll on into the NBL. When you first come to the league, what were you expecting from yourself? Were you like, hey, I want to try and get back to the NBA, I want a springboard, or are you here and like, this is a place? How does your mindset change since you first arrived in Australia prior to last season?
Yeah, coming into it, I had known about the NBL. I didn't know about the true buzz behind it, but I know there was quality players. A friend of mine, James Ennis, came over here and played for the Perth Wildcats, won a championship. I saw how that Red Army kind of got around him and the fan support that was kind of there. So I saw it as an opportunity for me to continue my game and continue my career in a place that I haven't got a chance to touch. And I did think going into it would be a one-year thing, but I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the environment.
Did you have other options up there?
Somebody who has played as long as I've played at the level that I've played, I always have options.
Good.
So
What brought you back? What brought
that's
you
not
back?
to sound crazy or anything like that, but I put a lot of work in, and I'm
Yeah.
very confident in my game. And so
Good.
I think the biggest thing was, one, getting a chance to play with a guy like Mitch Creek. I think one of the best players in the NBL. I don't think there's any question about that. Could have easily won the MVP last
Absolutely.
year. Coming back and understanding, working with Tommy and being familiar with the area, it just made sense for myself and my family to be able to come back here on a consistent basis and just continue to grow myself and the game here.
We love having you back, Sauce. We love having you in the league. One of the best rebounders in the world.
Yeah.
Period.
Period. And also just your personality, man. And the way you've embraced the league, the country. Like, I'm going to get you involved in helping recruit some of these next stars because you do a great job speaking up the whole thing. One of the the most intriguing elements of your team coming into the start of the season is your injury and Tyler Cook being into the mix. Now, we got a good look at him at the Blitz, and he's a monster. How are you feeling about all of that?
I love it. It gives the team the best opportunity to win at the end of the day. Bringing in somebody as quick as we were able to. Shout out goes to the agencies behind it and our team staff as well. Getting that handled so quickly with a player of his caliber.
Yep.
How fortunate are we? You know, like not only as the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, but as the NBL to see a player of his caliber come in and dominate for as long as it may be. So I think it puts us in a position to start off really well at the beginning of the season and allow him to continue to eat and kill, and then I could just come back into the fold and hopefully continue the progress as we go. So.
Did you know anything about Mike Kelly before this year?
I only knew of Mike from playing against him with the Perth Wildcats, and he was on the bench there, but always seemed like a really good guy. And then the stuff that I heard about him, once I heard that he was in the mix and asking questions, just showed that he was a player's coach first and foremost, and somebody who will come in and try to change and continue to take this group to the next level. So,
as you know, Liam is the GM of the Next Stars, and we've got a great crew this year when it comes to Next Stars, and the program continues to go next level each and every year. I want to touch on Alex Sarr, because you've played in the NBA, you've played right across the world, and you are able to see probably firsthand what it takes to go from a particular young age, a particular talent, and all the potential to make it to wherever they want to go. Firstly, the league, it's a perfect spot to be able to hone your skills in a tough league, right? And then go to whatever level it will be. And secondly, impressed with this young man?
Extremely impressed. First and foremost, shout out Liam. Yeah. Well done. This group of Next Stars is truly special, just with the sheer talent across the board. A guy like Alex Sarr who can mix it up, shoot it from outside, defensive monster on the inside. I think he's everything that NBA franchises are looking for in a big of his caliber. Young, athletic, a lot to learn, can still put on some more onto his frame, but seems like he's nimble and moves well enough to be able to guard multiple positions. So I think it's a big time thing for the NBL to have a player like him here for our exposure, but also a chance for him to learn and play against grown men before he steps onto the NBA stage.
I'm interested in your player perspective on this, because we just saw the highlights of him just absolutely exploding in that G League Invitational against Ignite in Las Vegas. 48-minute game, NBA style rules, right? Like the extended 3-point line, no defensive 3 seconds. There was a lot of that kind of worked really nicely for him, and he was able to showcase, hey, like, this is what I'm going to look like at the NBA level.
Right.
When you draft me into 2024 draft. But now he's going to come into the NBL, where the spacing is a little different, the rules are a little different.
I'm going to touch him.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to touch him.
Yeah, you're going to get physical with him. Like, guys are going to make it tough. Yeah. I already saw at the Blitz, like the breakers were really focused on clearing him out as a weak side shot blocker. When guys were driving the lane, Dave Pinot was like, you're not getting across there.
Right.
What's your perspective on what he was able to do there compared to what he's about to start to experience?
It's going to look different. So I don't think Perth Wildcat fans should expect to see that kind of thing that he was able to do with the G League Ignite on a consistent basis, just because in this league, in a FIBA system, in a 40-minute game, it's very difficult to do.
Right.
Now, he's extremely talented, and with that group around him, a guy that's been in the league for a long time like Bryce Cotton, a guy like Keanu Pender who's had success in this league at that position, is going to be really big and beneficial for him to be able to figure out how to play in the NBL. But in terms of his NBA stuff, he was born with it. You know what I mean? He's naturally gifted and naturally has this NBA frame. And so, again, really exciting for the NBL to have a player like him as well as the other great Next Stars that we have here.
With that small frame, going to the NBA, can he play the wing? Would he be a 3-4? Durant-style shooter?
I think he can be whatever you want to play him as. Like, you can play him as a 5 as he gets a bit stronger, but he does, and the handle needs to improve if he's going to play at the 3, I feel. But you can slide him to the 4. The shooting, the handle, all of that is there, but needs to get to another level. There's so much room for growth with this kid.
And that's what they draft in the NBA nowadays. That's what they draft.
Now you know why Liam didn't sleep for 3 days waiting for the confirmation, and that's why, because he's in the conversation already as a #1 pick. Now, 2 things before we get out of here. We'll start with your big Cool, because I like you. You fitted straight into the NBL Overtime crew because we used to come in here and we change our mind at the last minute and no one knows what is going on. And you have done exactly that. So take it away, man. What's your big call?
First and foremost, I think that the biggest call for myself is putting the pressure on myself.
Yep.
So I'm going to come out and say I'll be the MVP of NBL 24.
That's what I love to see.
I know Creaky's going to be over there like, hey, he's coming at me. But, if we can both push each other to get to that level, I think we'll be really successful with the team. But that comes with winning games, first and foremost. And I truly believe in my team this year and that we have something special going on in Southeast Melbourne.
I need to ask you quickly. I like it. I like it. It's like when Jock Landale told us they were going to go undefeated. I like it. I was sat down at a lunch last week and I was sitting next to a person. I won't name the car dealership he worked for, but he said that he had a relationship with you. And when you first came to Australia, he gave you a car to drive around, but it was too small. And you had to go back because you were driving and your head was on the side the whole time. Is that a true story?
True story. True story.
So wait, how long for? But how long were you driving like this for?
Well, first off, on the other side was already difficult enough as it was, but not to mention a small car. But usually when I go overseas, the cars are smaller, so I'm kind of used to it. But I think it was only a couple of days, and I was able to change that to something bigger.
That's when you had that neck soreness in pre-season.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, no,
Now you remember. Now you remember.
Hey, man, welcome.
Thank you.
NBL Overtime. Alan Williams, big source in the house, and we're looking forward to him. A big part of the show going forward. What? Coach? Coach has got a new segment. Off the top, surely that's a typo. Come on, man. We're going to find out. We're going to find out next if that's a mistake or not. It's NBL Overtime.
No mistake.
What's this? Whoa! Lanard Copeland.
Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
This is NBL Overtime.
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me?
Oh, no.
Larry, 6 years I've done the show, can't get a sting for yes or no. He just rolls in. Give me a spell. Can't cope. Original. Take it away, big fella.
Can't cope. This is all about me not being able to cope with some of the decisions being made throughout the league.
Okay.
All right? Now, we all know Bryce Cotton's a superstar, right?
Yes.
Bryce Cotton's known for what? Knocking down threes, okay?
Uh-huh.
Game winners. Throughout Bryce Cotton's career, I reckon he's got 7 or 8 throughout his career. I mean, 2 in college, 5 in the NBL.
Minimum.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
Now, here's the thing. Why is Bryce Cotton able to get the ball? 2 seconds, 3 seconds left on the clock. Why aren't we doubling Bryce and making someone else beat you? He's proven he can knock down the three. You coaches out there, please, I'm talking to you now. I don't know everything, but I'm going to tell you now. If Bryce Cotton has a chance to win the game, he's going to win it. Double him or on the high pick and rolls.
Yeah.
Double him, man. Make him swing that ball. Don't give him an opportunity to shoot the ball in.
Why do you think now?
No.
All right, here's some examples.
By himself, one-on-one. Okay, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going.
That was season 1.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, come on back. One guy on him, and look who's on him. Come on, man.
Hang on, that's Abercrombie. He's a pretty decent defender.
So
over
go
there.
double him and make somebody else beat you. One guy on him, he's gonna knock him down. He's proven he's gonna do it.
Switch. Here's a switch, not a double.
Yeah.
Okay. So go double him and make him swing the ball. And if someone else beats you, you can say, well, we tried something new. That's all I'm saying, Liam.
Okay, so what you want is you want to leave Jesse Wagstaff open for that layup that he missed. Is that?
All I'm
Just
saying,
put it in someone else's hand.
Put it in somebody else's hand. He comes off with a strong double.
Yeah.
That's a hard pass for Bryce Cotton to make the correct pass with 2 seconds, 3 seconds left in the game. So, and it's not easy to be a game winner.
Now, are you talking
Oh,
about?
here we go. Hang on. I knew he was getting to this. It's not easy to knock him down, but I did it.
We roll the footage and we got. Now, are you talking about all game long?
No, I'm talking about game winners.
Just the end of the
Just
game.
the end of the game, who's going to get the ball every time?
Yeah.
I like it. I will say he is the most unselfish superstar you're ever going to find,
100%.
and he does make great passes out
How
of
many
those
passes
situations.
has he made in game winners for somebody else to win the game? Bryce is taking that shot at the end of the game, and he's knocking it down.
Joe, I'm with you, Coach.
7 or 8 times in his career. 2 in college,
as Liam
5 or
mentioned,
6 here.
For someone else to beat you at the
Just
death.
make somebody else beat him. That's all I'm saying.
Now, on that,
I like it.
have you got your big call?
I do have my big call.
What is it?
My big call is Tyler Cook, who's meant to be leaving when Big Sauce comes back. I reckon he'll be here for the rest of the year. I reckon one of the teams, he's too good.
So your big call isn't Phoenix related, it's any team related.
Any team, somebody's going to pick him up. And I know he's probably on big money.
Big money.
You go find the money because this kid can get you to the playoffs and win a Imagine a team like Perth looking for a 4. Imagine if they held their card and didn't go after anybody,
Right.
and then this guy gets cut. Imagine him on the Perth Wildcats.
So what about Adelaide, for example? They cut Jamal Franklin. They have an import spot to fill. Is part of you thinking, don't worry about the point guard, just wait for Tyler Cook?
Tyler Cook is good enough to play on any team. I honestly think Adelaide need a point guard to run that show.
Okay. Now, I didn't mind Khan Cope. I like it. I like
You didn't like it. You didn't like it. You didn't.
I don't like it's got a stinger, I'll be honest. All right, hey, let's start with Illawarra. Let's start with Illawarra because we haven't given them enough and they have had a really good preseason.
Yes.
Really nice preseason. And this is a question that, honestly, I never thought I'd actually ever ask. Are they too deep? Have they got too many players who demand at some point through their playing minutes?
Last season, the Hawks were too shallow.
Yes.
Okay.
They had injuries. Now, they had debilitating injuries, and it was horrendous, but they weren't able to cover. So they went into the off-season and decided we're going to be deep.
Right.
So we're going to use the next star, add an extra roster spot. We're going to use all the different levers you can pull with the salary, with the special restricted players, so on and so forth.
Right.
Now they're loaded.
Yeah, they are.
Now they're loaded. We get to look at the depth chart that they can roll with, man. They can really throw a whole bunch of bodies at this thing. At every single position. Now, this is not broken into positions, but look at the depth. You got guys who can slide up and play more minutes at the 5 there as well. Very, very deep, but I'm not going to say too deep at this stage.
They're competitive. They're going to be competitive in practice is what I like about it. Going to make them better as a team. Because of their record last year, there's nobody there that can demand major minutes. So if they're playing well, you play them. So I don't ever think you're too deep.
I like, and they're very, very well coached. I like where they're headed at. Although they may be still a level below the best teams in the league, they've done a really good job in the off-season. Now, last year, Liam pissed off the whole state of Tasmania by saying the Jack Jumpers could not win the championship.
What?
So I'll let you go first. Are they championship material?
Well, under the coach, Roth, they're always championship material because he knows what he's doing. He's proven that he can take 5 or 6 guys no one knew about and get there. So you never count them out, Liam. What's wrong with you? Are you kidding me? Yes, they
Just
are.
in the hate. The hate was amazing. It made me scared when I went to the state of which I love.
Utter misrepresentation, for one. 2, absolutely they're championship material.
You've learned.
They're championship contenders. They're a top 4 team. Lock and load. I love the Jackies. Here we go.
Hey, Brisbane Bullets, your big call is...
My big call is that the Brisbane Bullets are going to make the playoffs.
Is that the final 4 or the 6?
It's the final 4 when we get there.
Okay.
Wow.
So they will be
They'll be in the 4.
final
When
4.
we get to that 3-game series, and there's 2 of them happening to see who plays off in the championship series,
They will be there.
the Brisbane Bullets, coach.
So who's going to miss out? That's the question.
Your former team.
They're
going to be there.
That's the question I need to ask. Who's going to miss out? Wow.
Well,
It's a deep season.
That's a big
deep
call.
season. Do you agree with it?
No, I don't agree
don't?
with him at all. No.
Well, they make the 6 then.
I think they'll make the 6. They
Yeah.
will not make the 4.
Okay.
all right.
And I got a friend,
you-
D-Mac's a coach, and he's calling me telling me we're going to make the 4.
Yeah.
No,
No, I like what they're about this year.
Yeah.
I like the pieces. I like the fact that they've moved Sober to the 2, but they've also brought in players to help him be a superstar.
Yep.
In that role. They've brought in solid point guards, Shannon Scott and Mitch Norton, who are going to get him the rock. They've brought in a sniper from long range in Chris Smith, who's not going to dance with it, but he's going to space the floor. And, of course, Big Banger's coming in an exceptional shape. So, Sobe's going to have a huge year.
Agreed.
The Bullets are going to defend at a high level under Justin
Yes.
Schuller.
Yes, they will.
They're going to win a whole bunch of games.
Yeah.
Really quickly, Cairns, they're young. Are they too young, or does it give them sort of youthful exuberance?
I think at the end of the day, Cairns will be Cairns, and they'll be competitive every game. Every game they'll be competitive.
Cairns will be Cairns.
Cairns will be Cairns. They're going to be competitive.
In 10 seconds or less. If you're going to think more than
Under
Cairns will be
40.
Cairns.
I'm excited to
Under
watch the Taipans, man. Bobby Clementman, Taron Armstrong, heaps of young talent to enjoy.
Santa's watching, and yes or no on the way next. We are, as always, NBL Overtime. Great, another Santa's watching. Come on, take it away,
Let's
Liam.
go, baby. Straight into it. Hey, a little wardrobe malfunction from Majuk Deng. The shoe came off. John McDonald hit the three. No. Oh, because Majuk Deng can't do his shoelaces up, Coach.
Oh, Lord. Come on, big fella.
Close game, too.
Close game.
Close game, netted the
Wow.
triple.
Early in the fourth and a little wardrobe malfunction. Check out Mike Kelly. He's showing the ref what happened, and then he says, you know what? I'm just going to use Anthony Drimmick as a mannequin. A little overly
Mike
friendly. And Gary Brown's like, what's going on?
I don't reckon Mike Keller did one take this year.
Nah, I'm with you.
The double-handed block.
Oi.
Matt Johns. Now, what's Kyle Bowen doing here? Like, what are you doing with the
Come on,
ball?
big fella. Get it up.
And then just quietly, check out the sunnies on the little guy at the back there.
He's styling in profile. Look
Hey,
at it.
best dressed man
I
in
like
the Gold
it.
Coast.
Nice.
I like it. There's a lot of stuff for Santa's watching you come out of the blitz. Now, for people at home who know this, and you may not be aware of this, Copes, he just relies on everyone around the nation to give him stuff on
send it in.
social. So, what's your handle again? At Liam Santa, is it?
_ Santa.
_ Santa. There you go. So any NBL stuff you see over the course of the weekend, make sure you get involved. All right, yes or no? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right. Is Corey Webster lucky to be not missing the season opener?
Yes.
Should we have a Blitz Grand Final?
No.
Is Bryce Cotton more of a chance to be MVP than Jalen Adams?
Yes.
Would the G League Ignite make the NBL Final Four?
No way.
Josh Giddey raised this and everyone went nuts. I spoke about this 3 years ago, no one cared. So fair enough too. Should we raise the foul limit to 6?
If you change the time.
So if it stays at 40, we can't go to 6?
No.
No? Okay, cool. If Tyler Cook, this is actually interesting. If Tyler Cook was a full-time import, like Cope suggested, would you predict him to be all NBL first team?
Yes.
Easy. Easy.
I know, it's what it feels like, right?
Hold on, is that the best you've got?
No, I'm just easing it. It's Cope's first show.
Oh, they won't blame me.
No, I just thought I'd ease it in slowly.
Very gentle.
No, you know I ease it in slowly to kickstart the year.
Hey, big
if I had known you were both getting stingers, I probably wouldn't have come in with such a lettuce leaf. But here we are. Hashtag NBL Overtime to get involved. We're 2 sleeps away, boys, from it all starting. Hit us up via all our socials at NBL. Hashtag NBL Overtime. Do you have any last words, Copes?
Who wins the game on Thursday?
Tell us in one word.
Melbourne United.
Lots of love.
We'll leave it out of it. See ya.